Chapter 1. The Sizzle and the Sniff. On a misty morning in the small town of Grubbsville, the aroma of sizzling bacon filled the air. Inside the noisy kitchen of Farmer Frank's famous fry house, a pink pig named Pickles lay wide-eyed in a wooden crate. He had overheard the worst. He was next on the menu. Pickles was no ordinary pig. He could read, he could think, and most of all, he could plan. Chapter 2. Escape at Sunrise. As Farmer Frank sharpened his knives, Pickles timed the guard dog's nap schedule and nudged the crate open using a buttered biscuit he'd hidden under his ear. Don't ask how. He rolled into the pantry, slipped past the swinging doors, and bolted through the open back gate, straight into the freedom of the fields. But his escape wasn't clean. Frank saw him, and Frank never let his bacon get away. Chapter 3. Pig in the City. Pickles ran all day and all night until he reached the bright lights of Porkington City. Disguised in a trench coat and fedora he found in a trash bin, he roamed the streets pretending to be a weird dog. He found shelter with a group of rebellious street animals known as the Strays, who welcomed him as the bacon that refused to fry. But Frank had already put up wanted delicious pig posters all over town. Ladies and gentlemen, gather round as I tell you about one of the most daring chapters in pig history, the tale of Pickles and his great escape. You see, our hero Pickles found himself in quite the predicament. His secret life had been exposed, and the notorious Frank was hot on his trail. But Pickles wasn't just any ordinary pig. He was clever, resourceful, and had some very loyal friends in the Strays. Together they hatched what might be the most brilliant plan ever conceived by a group of street-smart animals. Picture this: a late foggy evening by the Porkington River, where the mist rolls in thick enough to make you mistake a cat for a raccoon. Pickles and the Strays worked tirelessly, crafting a balloon pig dummy that could have fooled even the most discerning eye. They paid attention to every detail, from the curly tail to the distinctive snout that made Pickles, well, Pickles. Some say they even spritzed it with a bit of mud to make it more authentic. The Strays had collected discarded balloons from the park for weeks, just waiting for the right moment. As dawn approached, they set their plan in motion. The balloon decoy was released into the river, drifting slowly downstream where they knew Frank would be watching. And oh, what a performance it was! The dummy bobbed and weaved in the current, looking for all the world like a pig who had met an unfortunate end. Frank, who had been staking out the riverbank, took the bait hook, line, and sinker. The sight of what he thought was Pickles floating away broke him. There he stood, this tough guy, crying his eyes out by the riverside, comfort eating a donut in his despair. Finally, believing his pursuit was over, he trudged home, his shoulders slumped in defeat. At last, Pickles was free, but freedom, as sweet as it was, came with its own kind of cage. Our brave pig couldn't simply settle for a life in the shadows. No, something deeper stirred within him, a calling for justice. He'd tasted freedom, yes, but what about all the other pigs still living in fear? What about those who couldn't devise clever balloon decoys, or didn't have a gang of loyal strays to help them? The more Pickles thought about it, the more restless he became. He realized that escaping Frank wasn't the end of his story. It was just the beginning. There was a bigger mission calling him, a higher purpose, justice for all pigs everywhere. And so while Frank mourned his supposed victory over a box of donuts, Pickles was already planning his next move. Because sometimes the greatest acts of courage don't come from running away, but from standing up for what's right, even when it's scary. This wasn't just about one pig's freedom anymore. It was about changing the world, one snout at a time.
Enjoying the video, correct? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Please leave your feedback, hit like, share the content.
Picture this. A small pink pig standing in front of bright studio lights, his hooves trembling slightly as the red on-air sign illuminates. That pig was Pickles, and he was about to change history forever. You see, Pickles wasn't just any farm pig. He had spent months secretly watching educational TV through the barn window, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. And now, here he was, making his debut on Pet Talk TV, the biggest animal news network in the country. My fellow animals, and yes, my human friends too, Pickles began, his voice steady despite his nerves. For too long, we've been seen as nothing more than tomorrow's breakfast. But we are so much more. We are not bacon, we are brilliant. The studio fell silent. Nobody had ever heard a pig speak with such eloquence, such passion. As Pickles continued his speech, social media exploded. Pig rights started trending. Phone lines at Pet Talk TV were jammed with callers. Within hours, his message had gone viral, spreading faster than butter on hot toast. What happened next was extraordinary. Protests sprung up outside farms nationwide. Petitions gathered millions of signatures. And perhaps most surprisingly, tofu sales skyrocketed as people began reconsidering their breakfast choices. But the real drama came when Farmer Frank, Pickles' own farmer, agreed to a live TV debate. The tension was palpable as they faced each other in the studio. Pickles, cool and collected, waited for his moment. Then, just as Farmer Frank was mid-argument about traditional farming practices, Pickles cleared his throat and declared, "To eat or not to eat, that is the question." The Shakespeare quote was the final straw. Farmer Frank's eyes rolled back and he fainted dead away on national television. The sight of his own pig quoting the bard was simply too much for his traditional farming sensibilities to handle. The incident became known as the Great Bacon Debate, and it marked a turning point. Pickles had shown the world that pigs weren't just farm animals. They were thinking, feeling, Shakespeare-quoting beings capable of extraordinary things. And so, a simple pig from a humble farm became an unlikely hero, proving that sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest oinks. As for Farmer Frank, well, rumor has it, he's now running a vegetable farm, though he still gets a bit wobbly whenever anyone mentions Hamlet. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about a remarkable pig who changed the world, the one and only Pickles. You might think this is just another barnyard tale, but I promise you this story will make you see pigs in a whole new light. It all started when Pickles, tired of seeing his fellow pigs living in fear of becoming breakfast, decided enough was enough. With determination in his heart and mud on his hooves, he did something unprecedented. He opened the world's first pig rights sanctuary. A safe haven where pigs could live their best lives without worrying about becoming someone's bacon. But Pickles wasn't content with just creating a sanctuary. No, this visionary pig had bigger plans. He picked up a pen, quite a feat with hooves, mind you, and wrote what would become a best-selling book, Swine and Prejudice. The book challenged society's views on pigs and sparked a revolution in animal rights thinking. His message resonated so deeply that it caught on with the younger generation. Soon, kids everywhere were sporting t-shirts with the powerful message, "Be like Pickles, think before you eat." It wasn't just a slogan, it was a movement. Schools started teaching about animal rights, and families began having meaningful conversations about their food choices. Pickles became a celebrity in his own right. His interviews on talk shows were legendary, and his social media following grew faster than corn in summer. He was invited to speak at universities, and his TED Talk, From Sty to Sky, A Pig's Journey, broke viewing records. And what became of our porcine hero? Well, Pickles now lives the life he always dreamed of, in a luxurious penthouse complete with a custom-made mud spa. His days are filled with jelly bean snacking, his guilty pleasure, and signing autographs with his distinctive curly tail. Celebrity chefs consult him on vegetarian alternatives, and environmental scientists seek his advice on sustainable farming. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about Pickles isn't his success or his fancy lifestyle. It's the change he inspired in others. He showed the world that being different isn't just... Okay, it's extraordinary. He wasn't just a pig who defied the odds. He became a symbol of hope, courage, and change. You see, Pickles wasn't just a pig. He was and still is a legend.
His story teaches us that anyone, no matter their background or species, can make a difference in the world.
All it takes is courage, determination, and maybe a few jelly beans along the way. The next time someone tells you it's impossible or that's just how things are, remember Pickles. Remember the pig who dared to dream bigger than his sty, who fought for what he believed in, and who changed the world one oink at a time. Now that's what I call bringing home the bacon. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Pickles wouldn't have it any other way.